Hey everyone, how are you all doing today? Welcome back to Fanatic Sports. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more NFL content in your life. Now, let's move on to today's video. The MVP award is the most coveted award in any sport. To win that award means that you were at the very least top 5 in the league, and the most important to any team's success that season. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Tom Brady, and many more, have deservedly won the award in recent years. To win MVP means you change the league's atmosphere with your explosiveness or just great play that season. Today I'll be talking about my top 5 MVP candidates for the next season, and 3 sleepers. Now the 3 sleepers are not in any order, nor does it mean they are 6 through 8, but 3 people I could see being a dark horse for the award. Now, let's get straight into it. For the 3 sleepers, I have Drew Lock, Carson Wentz, and Deshaun Watson. I'm going to talk about all of them briefly, so to start, I think Drew Lock could win MVP for many reasons. The Broncos' offense continues to get better, as they added 2 wide receivers in the first 2 rounds of the draft, and signed Melvin Gordon to have a dual-headed running back group. He has a lot of weapons around him, so it'll be easy for him to succeed if the rookies are good. He went 4-1 last season as a pure gunslinger by definition. However, I don't really see him winning the award, it's just I could see him being a dark horse candidate. Next, we have Carson Wentz, the most underrated QB in the league because people hate on him and say Dak is better. I disagree, but that is not for this video. Wentz led an injury-prone Eagles team to the playoffs over a stacked Cowboys team. With the offense come back healthy next season, Wentz will have a great opportunity to succeed like he did in 2017, when he almost won MVP, but tore his ACL, and that lost him the race. Otherwise, I think he would have won it over Brady. Having a better team than he did last season will surely help him prove to people, if he can stay healthy, that he's one of the best in the league and could come out this season with the award. Lastly, we have Deshaun Watson. He will be leading a team without DeAndre Hopkins for the first time in his career. Although they did a good job replacing him, the wide receiver core definitely lost talent when a player of Hopkins' caliber leaves. If Watson can lead his Texans team to a top 2 seed and have good statistics, I could see him running away with the MVP. As Dabo Sweeney said, he's the Michael Jordan of the NFL now. With that brief explanation of the dark horse candidates, let's go on to the top 5. At number 5, we have Michael Thomas. Last season, he was a top 5 MVP candidate for the season. I do not see why he can't be again this year. He's an elite wide receiver, as I had him as the 3rd best in the league, but he will probably put up better stats than my opinion of the top 2, DeAndre Hopkins and Julio Jones, which will help his case towards potentially being an MVP. But the counter-argument against him is that he isn't even the most valuable player on his team, as the Saints have Drew Brees, a top 10 quarterback of all time, in my opinion. Michael Thomas is all around a great talent and receiver and can do most things asked of him, but not all, because I don't think he's the best route runner in the league. But again, just my opinion. Watch the film and tell me if you disagree. That is why he's not the best wide receiver in the league, though, because of that route running ability that he doesn't really possess to an elite level. Besides that, winning MVP does not necessarily mean that you are the best at your position as a whole, in my opinion, just that you're the most valuable at your position and in the league, which is why I believe he's the most valuable receiver in the league. Without Thomas, the Saints would not be nearly as good and at best a 5-7 seed next season, because their wide receiver core would only have Emmanuel Sanders and Traquan Smith, and then, Jared Cook at tight end, Alvin Kamara at running back. They would be a good team, just not, I wouldn't see them winning that division easily, because Michael Thomas is just that dominant receiver that without him, Drew Brees doesn't have a lot of targets to throw to. Now, if they didn't have Michael Thomas, they could have someone else to throw to, but again, like someone else close to his level, but not like top 5. But with that being said, I think he's one of the most valuable players to his team, just because of the way that he elevates his offense and the passing game. That's not to say that Michael Thomas makes Drew Brees, or Drew Brees makes Michael Thomas. I think they just are perfect together. Whether he is or not the most valuable next season to the Saints, he could walk away with the award if he does as well as we expect him to. For number 4, I have another surprise, potentially. I have Derrick Henry. After the past 2 seasons where he's been dominant at the end of the season, I feel it is safe to put him here. However, running backs almost never win this award. I believe the last one was Adrian Peterson, so I can see why it can be seen as controversial. Henry basically single-handedly carried the Titans' offense the whole season and was dominant as he led the league in rushing for the first time in his career. You can always expect him to put up monster numbers every game on the ground, and I think he's potentially top 3 in terms of being the most valuable to their team, but since he's a running back, I put him at 4, just because of how few running backs have won MVP. Without Henry, the Titans would be a below-average football team, in my opinion, at least on the offensive side of the ball, so I feel it is fair to put him on this list. You could argue that he's a sleeper honorable mention, just due to the lack of a real chance he has to really win this award, but I feel next year he will put up crazy numbers again, and finally be consistent for a whole season, and lead the Titans to an AFC title, and route to a potential deep playoff run again. But, like I just said, he has to be consistent. That's his main issue. 2 years ago, he got half of his yards in like the final 4 or 5 games of the season. Last season, got 948 out of 1,540 yards in the final 8 games. Those first 8 games, he only had 1 game over 100 rushing yards, even though he had 3 games of over 20 touches. If he could be consistent for the whole season, I don't see why he can't average 100 plus rushing yards and a touchdown a game with just how dominant he is and looks. That is if Mike Vrabel gives him the 20 plus touches that he really deserves and needs to destroy a defense, because giving him the ball late in the game is what you should do when you have a bruising back like Derrick Henry to wear the defense down. If he can put up the numbers like he did in the second half of last year, I feel like he can easily be in the conversation to win Most Valuable Player. At number 3, I have Russell Wilson. Russ has never received one MVP vote in his career for absolutely no reason. He's been astonishing his entire career, and at this point deserves recognition. Russell Wilson was close to winning it last year despite getting no votes. He basically came in second. He still put up a great season with 4,100 yards, 31 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 342 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns. If Lamar Jackson did not break records last season, basically being half quarterback, half running back, now that is not a diss to him, he's just really good at running the football, Russ would have won it. The reason I have him at 3 is because of how much he elevates a team. I think he's probably the best at it in the league, at least at the quarterback position. Even without a great team around him, especially offensive line, he consistently wins his division or comes close every single season. I don't think I've ever seen Russell Wilson not make the playoffs. He hasn't. He's made the playoffs every year. But like I said, his offensive line is awful. He got sacked 48 times last year, and he has a subpar defense now at the Legion of Boom. A, got old, B, was all released or retired. And the team didn't really have a ton of improvements this going into next year, so that's a challenge for him. But he will take that team to a good regular season record and have a good individual season, and that is really why he's could potentially win MVP, because you expect him to put up the numbers even with his subpar team, injury-prone / fumble-prone running backs, and 2 good wide receivers, I'll give him that, but not really a tight end. Although he's not my favorite to win MVP, keep him in mind throughout the whole season. Expect him to put up over 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns next season, and lead the Seahawks to, I'm guessing, a 11-5 to 13-3 record. If he does so, I think it's obvious that he could be potentially the MVP next season. The reigning MVP, Lamar Jackson, comes in at number 2 for obvious reasons. Lamar is one of the players who would change the league forever with his versatility on offense, being able to throw the ball well and run even better. He turned a Ravens team whose offense did not look great, at least in my opinion, before the season. Well, at least not the passing offense, and made them into one of the best offenses in the league. Yes, it was through the run and through the tight ends in the passing game, but I can see players like Hollywood Brown breaking out next year, helping Lamar make his case to repeat his MVP. I think he'll put up over 1,000 rushing yards again, and continue to evade everyone on the football field. Just ask the Cincinnati Bengals. They know a lot about that. However, I expect his turnovers to go up, as he only fumbled twice last year with just 6 interceptions. I feel like that's not sustainable for him throughout another season. I feel like he's bound to throw more interceptions, because I think he'll trust his wide receivers more, which could end up to more turnovers because his wide receivers aren't great, but quarterbacks develop that with their wide receivers. But I just think that due to that, he'll make more mistakes, but he still stands at 2 just to how scary he is to defenses and how valuable he is to the Ravens. Without Lamar Jackson, the Ravens would not be nearly as good as the season prior with Joe Flacco. For about a little more than half the season, I believe, they were average, and then Lamar led them to the playoffs. No other quarterback really changes the game like Lamar because of his running ability. Now, the one question about him is if he is really a good passer, as he only passed for 208 yards per game, but it is clear to most that he at least improved vastly from year 1 to 2 in the air, accuracy-wise. It can happen again, especially with improved wide receiver play, and this whole offseason. For Lamar to repeat as MVP, he has to win the AFC North and lead the team to a 1 or 2 seed in the AFC, as well as put up the historic numbers we saw last season. Now, on to number 1. The obvious choice for number 1 is Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes last season was not fully healthy for a portion of it, obviously missing a couple games. And if he can stay healthy for all 16, he is clearly the favorite to win MVP. One of the most talented pure quarterbacks of all time. It is not hard for him to throw for him anywhere from 35 touchdowns and above and 5,000 for a season. I think anyone in the world can see him putting up anywhere from 35 to 50 touchdowns next year, just due to how good of an offense there is around him, his gunslinger mentality, and just how strong his arm is and how accurate he is. It's just crazy. You may argue that he may not deserve it because of the great coach he has and the weapons around him, but really think about it. Alex Smith, a good quarterback, did not do nearly as well as Mahomes with basically the same crew. Obviously, that is kind of a bad comparison because Mahomes is just better. But, I mean, that proves my point. Like, Mahomes is just better, and he's doing a lot better than Alex Smith did, because Alex Smith's just a game manager. Believe me, not a bad quarterback, he deserves to be a starter, but you can't use the coaching and weapons argument against Mahomes just because it's clear how talented he really is, because he can throw the football anywhere on the field no matter the angle. Literally, some of the angles he throws the ball at is just stupid to watch. Going off of that, the offense even improved as they added first-round pick Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back, a huge need for them on offense. If Mahomes puts up relatively similar numbers to his prior MVP season, which is very possible, voters will basically hand him the award. Now, I'm not saying 50 touchdowns, but, like, he could probably put up 35 to 45 easily. There's no reason to put anyone else here, potentially Lamar, because of just how far and above Mahomes is at the quarterback position, above the number 2, who I believe is Russell Wilson. He can air it out like no other, and having speedy wide receivers like he does just makes his arm strength that much more valuable to his team and to the league. He also has a great offensive line. He only got sacked 17 times in 14 games last year, so that'll really make it easy for him to put up the MVP numbers we are used to seeing with him. He has all the tools around him and all the tools in himself to win MVP next year, and I would bet a lot of money that he will. If he does, thank me for making you at least $1, because maybe you didn't bet a lot. I don't know. Mahomes is the clear favorite to win next year, and I think there's no argument against it. With all that being said, that is all from me, guys. Thank you for tuning into Fanatic Sports. Hope you all liked the video, and if you did, please hit the subscribe button and like button. It takes 2 seconds. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful day.